It's time for TWiT, the very last TWiT from the old TWiT cottage. Next week we move to the new brick house. And joining me, three of my favorite TWiT co-hosts, Xeni Jardin, Denise Howell, and Gina Smith. This Week in Tech is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Audio bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by the new Winamp for Android, featuring wireless sync and one-click iTunes import. Now with free daily music downloads and full-length CD listening parties. Download it for free at winamp.com/Android. Video bandwidth for TWiT is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 310, recorded July 17th, 2011. This old cottage. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Go to Assist Express. Being an IT and not using the right tools can be disastrous. That's why you need Go to Assist, the leader in remote support. Try it free. Visit gotoassist.com/TWiT. And by Audible.com. Sign up for the Platinum Plan and get 2 free books. Visit audible.com/TWiT2. And don't forget to follow Audible on Twitter, user ID audible_com. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account for 6 months, visit Squarespace.com and use the offer code TWiT7. It's time for TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 310. Joining us now from all over the world. Well, at least from all over California.
Yeah.
A great TWiT panel, starting with Denise Howell from Southern California, where she has survived Carmageddon.
Yes, live to tell the tale. Hello, Leo.
Hey, Denise, our host from This Week in Law, blogger at bagandbaggage.com, a legal eagle, and a great podcaster and blogger. It's so nice to have you back, Denise.
Great to be here
So
again.
well, actually, Jenny's also here, so I think Jenny was also a survivor, right, of Carmageddon?
So far, I've survived, yes.
Jenny Jardin is here from boingboing.net. Great to have you on the show again, once again.
Great to be here.
And from Northern California, Gina Smith, editor-in-chief of the brand new, newly launched Byte magazine. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Leo. It's great to be here. And what great timing.
Yes, you launched this week, right?
Yes, we launched on July 11th with no fanfare whatsoever. We just put the site up.
BYTE.com, right?
Yeah, doesn't that say something about the times that we have to spell byte?
Yeah, maybe, maybe it does. Maybe it does.
Really
That's a good point. I was talking to Linda of lynda.com yesterday, and she said, does everybody know it's with a Y? I said, well, everybody I know knows it's with a Y, but maybe we better spell it on the radio show.
Oh, we've got a lot of folks that are on our staff. We've got a staff of about 70 people, all of whom, Leo, I swear to God, all of whom came from TWiT.
Good.
Isn't that funny?
You're getting good people.
Your listeners are my staff.
You're getting good people. This is
but
the
there are
last...
a number of them in their 20s and their 30s, early 30s.
So they wouldn't remember it. They wouldn't remember
it. Well, they don't remember seeing it themselves, but you know what? Look at this. I don't remember the Beatles. Right, but I know the Beatles. I know every song on, the White Album.
Wait a minute. What do you mean you don't remember the Beatles?
I mean,
You weren't alive when the Beatles were making music?
I was born the year they broke up.
I feel so old.
You're not old.
Yeah.
You're
definitely older than you, Gina. If you were saying that.
Denise and I remember the Beatles.
But my point is that people remember Byte because it's one of those brands that just was legendary.
Absolutely. And, Jerry Pornell, those great tinny covers. Yeah, I mean, it's just very exciting. You've got the tinny covers back, too.
We've got Robert Tinney back.
Yeah.
Not just the covers, but the actual man.
It's nice to have a guy if you're going to have his covers.
Yeah.
Yes, he draws them.
Yes, he draws the covers. And we've got all the, we've got a piece on Byte.com that was the original letter from the editor-in-chief in 1975. And I didn't know how to find this guy because I wanted to kind of check with him. Is it okay if I run your letter from 1975? Never could find him. He emailed me on Tuesday and said, wow, Byte's back. Thanks for using my letter. You can use everything I wrote.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Carl Helmers.
Oh, yeah, Carl Helmers.
Yeah, if you go to byte.com, you can see there's a thing along the carousel called Byte 1975. Wow. And under that, you see like full text.
BYT.
And the full article. Yeah, and the full magazine.
Speaking of the, wow, it sounds like Carmageddon's happening somewhere in there. Speaking of music and the Beatles, Spotify launched this week in the U.S. Any Spotify users? I got my invite. Any of you using it? Xeni? Denise, what do you think, Xeni? How do you like Spotify?
I'm digging it. By the way, sorry, that's probably me. There are copters and planes overhead. Carmageddon is still underway here in Los Angeles.
You know, I was preempted. The Los Angeles radio station that I'm on preempted me yesterday for wall-to-wall coverage of nothing, right? Nothing happened.
One of our friends on Boing Boing made it up there to the 405 with a police escort and sent back a bunch of pictures. He just basically described walking along a completely empty, huge freeway and said, this is like the most boring, dull thing I've ever been this excited about. Just walking along an empty freeway ramp with cops.
I have my whole life, though, had a fantasy of them shutting down freeways and getting to bicycle on freeways because they're so smooth and nice.
Yeah, I heard of people scooting up there with skateboards and bikes illicitly, and I'm afraid I didn't have the cojones to do that. But
they would arrest you if you did that.
That's kind of how it works. But yeah, Spotify.
I don't know. It is Southern California, Leo. We love our skateboarders.
Yeah. I love Xeni's Carmelgeddon posting on. That's so much more fun. I wish it were Carmelgeddon. So we should explain for those tiny percentage of the audience who is not plugged into Los Angeles news. Los Angeles has become the New York of the media world now. If it happens in Los Angeles, it's like it's global news. They closed a freeway, the 405, for 53. Well, they were going to close it for 53 hours for a bridge demolition. They reopened. I think they've reopened early. Yes.
They did 15 hours early, as I understand it.
And L.A. is such a car culture that just terror reigned in the city. That everybody was just going to die because you couldn't drive on the 405 on a Saturday. You mean I have to use Sepulveda Boulevard?
And then Sepulveda was supposed to be a disaster, too. They actually called Eric Estrada out of retirement to give public service announcements.
The Chips guy?
The Chips guy, yeah.
Hi, this is Eric Estrada.
You
may remember me from Chips. Don't drive.
Hey, that was one good-looking guy.
Is he still good-looking?
He holds up well.
Did he? Oh,
he
good.
does hold up well.
Oh, yes. Good. So, needless to say, it's over now. There are helicopters overhead. It was way overcovered because it's L.A.
And if you go to the markets locally, I just did my Sunday grocery shopping, and I saw signs for Rainier cherries, Carmageddon special, $2 a pound. It's in like the local Japanese market where I go to get my mushrooms and my melons and things.
It reminds me of Y2K, to be honest.
Yeah.
A big much ado about nothing.
Well, I think the media had too much advance notice. We've been hearing about this for weeks, right? So they were all built up. I was in what was a much more Carmageddon-esque situation on an impromptu basis recently out on the 91 freeway, another big artery, where there was a U-Haul by the side of the road in a parking lot, and it had something mysterious about it. The bomb squad was called out. The freeway was blocked for about 5 miles, and I did see, now this freeway was full of cars blocked, I did see a skateboarder get out, and it was a nice downhill slope, and he just completely coasted, past all the traffic. I don't know how he got back to his car.
Only in L.A. Only in L.A. I love that.
Only in L.A. I wish I lived in L.A. Where it was sunny and nice. But, you were talking about Spotify, and it just occurred to me, if you don't have an invite, you can go to Klout.com, Klout with a K, Klout.com, and there's an area on that site called Perks that will let you get onto Spotify in the U.S. without somebody inviting you. And I only know that because one of my writers at Byte posted that.
It's not such a closed invite that you can't. Malik had something like 20,000 invites that he was giving away. So,
Gray had a bunch.
What do you think, Xeni? Is this? I've been using Rdio, Rhapsody, Napster, and Mog in the U.S. for years. Is it so different?
For me, it's a toss-up between Rdio and Spotify. But I was a long-time iTunes devotee, despite the fact that iTunes had so many limitations, and I don't think I'm ever going back.
Yeah, from iTunes or
Yeah, I think it's either going to be Rdio or Spotify. Spotify has some kludgy UI issues that annoy me, but one thing that I like is that the catalog is really, really deep. I tend to go for obscurities, and I'm impressed. All of the vinyl intelligence tests that I ran by it passed.
Yeah, that's actually of interest. They claim 18 million songs, right?
It's huge.
That seems awfully large. I like, and I think this is key, and Rdio does this, but I think Spotify does it very well. This is the desktop client, by the way. It immediately, if you log into your Facebook account, populates your Facebook friends and their playlists. And while it's just limited to Facebook, which I think is a negative, it is kind of nice that I could see all of this music suggestion stuff just kind of instantly in here.
It's instantly superior to what iTunes tried to do with Ping, I think.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Ping
That's
is one of
so
the
true.
most conspicuous failures, one of the more conspicuous failures in terms of Apple launches. It just never really got better, and in my opinion, it kept getting worse the longer it was out there. But Spotify, the fact that it integrates with something as popular as Facebook. I'm not a Facebook user, but you're at least tapping into an established platform where there's a really large user base that's already used to sort of prolifically sharing.
It'd be nice if it did support Twitter, Google+, some other social networks.
I haven't linked mine up to Facebook yet. What do you get from that? I mean, do you actually get music suggestions, or do you see people's Facebook status updates?
No, you don't get status. So here it is. It's on the right, Denise, of the screen right now. And so these are Facebook friends who have Spotify, only friends who have Spotify. And so let me click on somebody like Cedric Ingran, who's French, so he's had Spotify for some time. It immediately populates it with his public playlists. That's all. Not Facebook updates, not crap, just the music that he has published. Don McAllister, he's from the UK, and has some pretty bad taste. But now I know. He loves ZZ Top, well-dressed man. Okay. Actually, that's Def Leppard. But I'll show you one other thing that really impresses me about Spotify. I'll pick a song, any song, double-click it. It starts playing immediately, actually.
I love that.
That's kind of stunning that it's immediate. I don't know how they do it. But that by itself is a huge leap ahead of other music systems.
It's true. Also, the memory footprint. If you're on a tablet, if you're on something like a MacBook Air, a netbook, you're not talking about an app that's going to hog so much of the spare memory that you have.
Right.
Right.
What do you think, Denise? You like it?
Well, like I said, I hadn't linked it up to Facebook yet, so when I logged in, there just wasn't much there. And maybe I'm just, there are just too many good options out there for us now, and I'm a couple years past being blown away by this, which I probably would have been if they'd come a bit earlier to the U.S. But now, I mean, they're just with the cloud services out there, and I have not abandoned iTunes, although it's not my go-to. I do like.
It's horrible. It's just so bad.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment to Apple.
Yeah.
iTunes. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, certainly iTunes plus Ping is an embarrassment to Apple. There's no questions about that. And what's interesting about Spotify is it's this unlimited stream. It's basically ad-free if you spring for the $5, right? And like you guys just
even
said,
the free, they're not going to limit the free one even, which they do.
Not yet, right?
Europe.
They said not for this year.
Yeah. So in Europe, you can only listen to 20, I can't remember what it is, 20 songs a day or something like that.
Yeah, but here they haven't put any kind of a cap on it, which is really exciting. And what you said about finding, really unlistened to or unplayed on the radio songs. We had Jacob Lopez, who is in his mid-20s, and he said, finally, I can listen to Zombina and the Skeletones.
Oh, finally.
I said, finally. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah, Zombini.
Now, the Skeletones, and it's courtesy of Spotify.
Now, artists are going to raise this point, which is that it's very hard to make any money from Spotify.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and it's basically promotional value only.
Yeah.
So are we ripping off artists by supporting services like this? Should we be buying music from iTunes or Amazon? Wouldn't that be a better way to support an artist you really like? Because it's so easy. For $10 a month, I can listen to all the Zombini I want, and they get
Zombina.
Pardon me, and they get pennies. I mean, they get almost nothing.
Well, Spotify is tightly integrated with the record labels, right? They are the driving force behind having this service out there. It's their bid to compete in the modern digital world. And I think they'd probably argue to the artists that it's the equivalent of radio airplay these days.
Well, exactly, because radio's not doing you any
think.
good anymore, right?
Yeah.
So you got to do something. How do we promote this?
Yeah, I mean, that's aspirational. It's so nice to say, you know, let's be for the artists and we don't care. But
Oh, yeah,
in
we
the
know
end,
how much the
people
record
buy
labels
what they-
love the artists.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point, Leo, I think.
There was
I
that-
think it's an exciting announcement.
There was
this
that
week.
great infographic which we talked about a few twits ago about how much money, this is from informationisbeautiful.net, how much money artists earn online. For a solo artist to earn a monthly minimum wage in the U.S., which they estimate to be about $1,160, they have to sell 143 self-pressed CDs, 155 CDs on CD Baby, 1,161 record deal CDs, you know, album downloads from, say, iTunes, 1,229 MP3 downloads. The dot is growing. Here's how much. You have to have 849,000 plays on Rhapsody. You have to have 1.5 million plays on Last FM. There's no room for the spot. Spotify, at least this is the deal that they had. I don't know if this is the deal going forward. 4 million plays per month to earn a minimum wage.
Yeah, but Leo, I mean, you remember this. You and I wrote a book together, and certainly my latest book just came out. This is very similar to what authors face.
We make diddly doo doo. I was going to say another word.
Remember you and I figured it out. What
It's
is
not
this
much.
per hour? No, it was like we were working for 10 cents an hour to create that book.
And the reason you do a book, at least in the computer industry, is is that promotional thing.
That's right. It's like
raises
radio.
your name, and then you could do speaking engagements, and you can get on All Things Considered or whatever. I mean, it helps your profile. You don't do it for the money.
No, you don't write a book.
So maybe you
for
do
them.
Spotify for the profile, not for the money.
No, if you're an artist, I mean, you'd be real psyched to be on. If you're Zombina, for instance, I'd never heard their name before.
Zombina's really
until this
happy
week.
that we've now mentioned them 3 times on this show.
Exactly. They've got to be psyched. I mean,
And they're
look
on
at this.
Spotify.
Right.
Were it not for Spotify, none of us would have the name Zombina on our lips.
Should I
So
play?
it's a good thing.
Well, see, Anna, this is sad because I can't play a spot. I can't play.
Could
a
you go back to
Zombina.
playing
You
that
can't-
ZZ Top track?
Say again?
Go back
Yeah.
and play some more ZZ.
Back to ZZ Top. Forget the Zombina.
It's so much
Sorry,
easier.
Jacob.
It's all in there. No, I'm going to search for Zombina. Let me see. ZOMBI.
B-I-N-A.
You know what the ZZ and ZZ Top stands for?
No, what?
No.
Zombina.
Look, there's tons of Zombina in the skeletons. Let's
That's
play
what
their.
Jacob
They
said.
must be good.
Let's play their. I can sort by popularity, by the way, so I know that their #1 song is "Nobody Likes You When You're Dead."
They don't.
All right, that's enough. That's all I can play according to
Okay.
the recording.
That's my
My attorney is
young
here. Is
news
that okay?
reporter.
Did I play too much?
Well, since we're engaged in commentary and news gathering, informational activities, I think we're cool.
Fairies.
You know, I'd just like to add one more thing. The dilemma that you're talking about is a little bit like what we blogs go through when new and elegant apps like Flipboard come out. Flipboard is something that, I've spent many an evening on the couch sort of flipping through. And I've just found out that Boing Boing and our Flickr pool are going to be featured in a really nice way at the sort of front door of the app. And we love that.
But
We see no revenue from it. They strip
Right.
out our ads.
Right.
And we're talking to them and they have our consent to do what they're doing for the time being. But the idea that they're presenting this and they're presumably, eventually, they're going to be adding their own ads in and giving us whatever terms they feel like after they've built up their user base. It feels like, on the one hand, we always want more users. We always want new audiences to know about us and be exposed to our content. But on the other hand, it kind of feels like we're being taken for a ride.
Yeah, I totally agree with that thinking. I mean, that is how it feels for people. It's like, when my book was picked up, this was the Wozniak biography, and it was picked up by the Kindle. I mean, I don't see any money from that. And
Well, you just had a
very
bad deal. I mean, you should have royalties for the Kindle sales.
Yeah, okay, but even if I had a deal, I mean, you know how this works. The agent takes it, the publisher takes it, everybody takes it. It takes forever to get your money back on the advance. In the end, you get pennies.
And yet, Flipboard is such a really generative, wonderful idea that makes content so palatable. It's a great way to read Boing Boing.
I love it. I love the way it looks.
Yeah.
It is to internet content what Spotify is to music. Spotify is so much, and audio. Even with the difficulties that they have, even with the UI problems that those two apps have, they're so much better than anything else that's out there in a big way.
Yeah,
and yet there are other apps. There are other apps that do this, like Xite, who people are suing them because they're not reaching out as Flipboard has. I think Flipboard realized they had to reach out to the content creators. So you're satisfied from a point of view of Boing Boing. You're satisfied that they're going to take care of you, or?
I think that's being a little too naive and a little too optimistic. We're happy to be featured. We like what they're doing with our content right now, and I think I'm safe in saying that we have kind of a wait and see attitude, but that we're impressed with what a nice looking platform it is.
And you can, by the way, I think Flipboard does give you a way as a content creator to block it.
Oh, sure, but we chose not to do that.
Yeah, who would want to do that?
So everything that we release is released under a Creative Commons license that permits non-commercial reuse with attribution. And for the time being, they're not selling ads against our content, so it's not a violation. Plus, we're talking with them, and they have our consent. But it'll be interesting to see how they businessify what they do.
Well, and I share your concern. I mean, they're not doing it with podcasts at this point, but I'd have the same problem if. But that's why we embed our ads, so we knit them so tightly into the content that you can't.
It's very smart.
You can't get rid of them.
It's like watermarking.
Yeah, if you want the show, you're going to get the ad. Speaking of which, let's take a break and come back. We're going to, I want to talk about Netflix because that's really raised a furor.
Ooh.
And with their what some say is a price increase. I might dispute that, but let's talk about it in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to talk about our friends at Citrix who make a great product for the IT professional. If you're doing support, software support, IT support, maybe just mom and dad, grandma and grandpa support, you got to know about GoToAssist Express. I've been using it since they were called Expert City, which was 10 years ago during the Tech TV days. This is the greatest thing ever. And Citrix, they know how to do remote access, 128-bit SSL. It's cross-platform, Mac or PC, and they've added features that support pros need. Unattended support, really important. Very easy for your supportee. You don't want to spend time supporting the support tool. So all you have to do is send them a link in an email. If you're in a chat, you give them a link. This is what I did to my mom. She clicks the link. It's a Java stub, very quick to load. You say, Mom, just click allow when you see the allow. She says, and then I'm in, and I'm fixing her computer. And she loves it because she can see the mouse move around. I can chat with her. I can explain what I'm doing. It is the way to speed things up. 8 sessions at once. So pros will like that because you can start a scan or an install and move along so you don't have to wait for it to finish. It gives you an assay of the operating system, all the software running in the background, including security software. You can share your screen with them as well as look at their screen. I could just go on and on. But the best thing to do is try it free. Just go to their website, gotoassist.com/twit. GOTO assist.com/twit. And you have 30 days absolutely free to try this and all of the great features. Citrix has really put together the best remote support app. I know there are other choices out there, but there's no reason not to try this. It's free, and except that I should warn you, you're going to get hooked. It's the best. GoToAssist Express. GoToAssist.com/twit. We thank them for supporting Twit. And you see, I knitted that so carefully into the body of it that nobody will be able to extricate it. We also are Creative Commons Attribution, Share Alike, Non-Commercial. I think that's the right way to do content.
Xeni, I'm curious about Flipboard. Do you see any sort of value add coming back from them? Did they give you any more sort of detailed statistics than you could get otherwise just by someone using a browser?
No.
So you're doing it on faith, basically, that it's going to build business.
Yeah, I mean, I think with things like that come into the marketplace and look attractive or look interesting, we sometimes like to cautiously tread forward and see what happens with that. And then if if some time goes by, the product matures and we're not getting anything out of it, or it's potentially leaching traffic away or leaching revenue away, then we opt out.
But it's going to be hard to turn it off. I mean, you're going to have some irate people if you turn it off.
Yeah.
I mean, I read Boing Boing that way. I hate to admit it. Should I not? Would you like to send a message out to me and other Boing Boing fans that it would be better to go to the website?
Boy, if you go to the website, you will find a tablet and iPad-friendly experience that will also pay our bills.
Right on.
Yay.
Do it that
Awesome.
way. That's, by the way, we're doing a web design, and I spent quite a bit of extra money to make sure that it was HTML5 tablet compliant, iOS compliant, because that's nowadays you got to.
When we did our redesign last year, that's specifically why the design looks the way it does.
Yeah.
You don't have to download an app to look at Boing Boing on an iPad. It just works.
I don't like the appification, frankly, of the web. I don't like it. Gina, what are you doing with Byte? How are you handling this?
Well, we've got a iPad app that came out the same day that Byte came out on, maybe a day after, on July 12th. But right now we're just doing streaming only. But like you said, I mean, we had Flash video content we're having to convert completely to a player. The Brightcove player, actually, is what we're using, so that we can run on the iPad and on the iOS devices. So it forced a change on our part, because we were doing video the Flash way, which is how most people do it. Now we've got to do it HTML5.
So now on Byte.com, the revenue is from ads, or I see you can register. Can you pay for it? How does this work?
Look how we were on Times Square. Do you see that?
I know, this is beautiful.
This was an amazing thing. I'm always fighting with them about an editorial budget, and they call me and say, hey, we got a billboard on Times Square. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah. I hope that didn't cost as much as a full-time writer.
Well, PR Newswire is a company that is part of United Business Media, which is what bought Byte and what just brought it back. Right. And so PR Newswire gave it to us as a gift.
Oh, that's nice.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's a nice thing.
Really? Does Lion look like Lamb Chop from Sherry
Lion
Lewis?
Looks just like Lamb Chop. That's how I envision Lion looking, if it ever comes out.
So a lot of videos you're doing. Byte's going to be video heavy. Is that right?
Lots of video, lots of photos. I mean, there's probably a terabyte of data already on Byte. Wow. Through our how-to galleries, through videos, through shows, 5 little podcasts, tiny little podcasts, 10-minute podcasts.
We're going to do a big one. Bytecast will be part of the TWiT
We
network
are.
Starting soon.
Yes.
Gina will host that.
With Jerry Purnell.
Really? Is Jerry going to be a regular on Bytecast?
He wants to be a regular,
That's
and
awesome.
I'm happy to have him.
That's
he's
great.
already filed 2 columns.
I
This
love
is a man
Jerry.
who's 77 years old.
Oh, man.
And his column was tremendous when he came in. And I think the best sentence of the whole week on Byte was Jerry Purnell's sentence that said, "The tablet wars pass like dreams." I thought, I don't know what that means, but it's lyrical.
They're evanescent.
It's their evanescence, yes. But Jerry Purnell is back, and he's psyched, and he's sending me tons of email.
He's the name. I mean, when you say Byte Magazine, he's the name everybody associates. Us old farts, anyway.
On Chaos Manor.
Chaos Manor. That's what really got me started in thinking in terms of covering technology from the user point of view. He was the first to do that. Say, I'm a user first, last, and always, and this is going to be a column by a user about being a user. That was different. That was unique, and I think great.
That's what Jerry is all about.
Yeah.
And if you look at his column, he says, I'm trying to, get a hang of ebooks here, and here's my experience with the Kindle, and that's what Jerry is all about. Like, his big library with all those books behind him, and now he's going totally electronic.
Well, good.
I love the library,
We don't know exactly when Bytecast is going to launch, but we'll let you know. It'll be the next month or so. We'll be doing it right from the.
Have we signed a deal yet?
Yeah, we got a deal. I just can't. I don't know exactly what. The business
I'm the last
people.
one to know.
No, it's the business people is handling that right now. We'll let them figure that out. But I think we do have a deal. It's just a question of waiting till we have a studio for you. This is the last TWiT we're doing from the original TWiT Cottage. We're going to be moving. You've been here, Denise. You've been here, Gina. Have you ever been to the Cottage, Xeni?
No, I haven't had the pleasure.
You're never going to see it. This is it. It's over. But you got to come up and see the new studio because it's just beautiful. It's fantastic.
I can't wait. And thank you for posting the photos that you have on Google Plus and I think on Twitter as well. I've really enjoyed seeing it come together, and I can imagine how excited you must be.
It is. It's so fun. Anyway.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Not to get into this. I wanted to talk about Netflix. So this week, Netflix basically announced. Well, I don't know. You could say it was a price increase. I mean, there's no question. If you have a Netflix account that includes discs, you're going to pay more for the same service. But you could also say they split streaming from discs. Streaming will still be $7.99. Discs will be what they were. Any Netflix users in the group?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, you too, Xeni. Okay. I thought Xeni might be you might only use BitTorrent or something.
So the legal service that I'm a fan of is Netflix.
Nicely put. So there still is, I think, a lot of heat on this. What is going on? Why? First of all, why did Netflix do this? Are they going to lose business, or is this something they had to do? Denise, what do you think?
I think they had to do it. I think they've been offering really attractive pricing for a while because they could, and now that they are so popular, it's just not being left on the table as an option for them, and they've got to pass it through somehow.
Is it Hollywood that's making them do this, or pure economics?
I think it's both. I think, in order to renew their licenses with some of their partners, people are coming in and saying, hey, well, you guys have gotten huge since we negotiated this.
Right.
And it's time to pay the piper. So,
do they not have any clout with Hollywood? I mean, isn't this how most of us now watch movies?
Yeah, I think it is the way most of us now watch movies, especially if you have kids, right? That you definitely have a Netflix account so you can download those movies for them. And I think one thing that people have to remember, and they so often forget, is these companies aren't into it for the users. Their final obligation at the end of the day is to their stockholders. And if they can raise prices, they will raise prices to what the market will bear.
It's still a good deal, I guess. I mean,
I think it's still a good deal, and people will pay it.
Compared to what
they'll be upset about it.
Oh, they are upset. Compared to what movie ticket costs are. I mean, people who went to see Harry Potter this weekend spent, $25 for 2 tickets at least.
Yeah, that's what my little boy's doing right now. That's the only reason it's quiet in here. Eric is off watching Harry Potter.
They're starting to have competition too. Amazon Instant with its Prime tie-in is right in there with them. And so, at least there's some pressure on them not to just take the pricing through the roof.
That's a good point. Prime is free, but it's not nearly as extensive a collection as Netflix has.
Mm-hmm. But it gets the new releases, though. It gets the on-demand, the things that would come on your cable or satellite on demand.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Could you be a cable cutter?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Could she cut the cable?
I think this is going to be more and more. This is an increasing question because a cable television over $100.
I thought for a second you were talking about doing something more nefarious than
not
simply,
physically, not with a lawn shears cut the cable. No, but I mean, could you disconnect? I'll tell you what. I got so mad with Comcast that I switched to a DSL provider because right now in my neighborhood, between 7 and 10 p.m. I get no bandwidth because everybody's freaking watching Netflix, and Comcast, it's not in their interest that people do this. They want you to watch video on demand. So I'm convinced that they're not putting any more bandwidth in because they don't want this to happen.
Yeah.
So I went to a DSL provider. It won't be as fast burst, but at least it will be consistent, and I'll be able to watch my movies. I think that the movie industry doesn't like DVDs because it's a piracy.
They never have.
They want you to watch streaming. The cable companies want you to watch video on demand. They don't want you to watch streaming because you're buying bits at wholesale. You've got all these interests fighting against each other, and the only people who really are the victims are us. I mean, you're right, Gina. They have no fiduciary responsibility to us. It's all to
they don't care about the customers, and they shouldn't. I mean,
well, they care to the degree that if we all leave them, they're going to care.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If you're mad about this, you should vote with your dollars, change your service, and that's the only way that the companies will respond. And
to answer your question, Leo, I would totally be a cable cutter if I didn't have someone in my household who's just become inured to channel flipping, just loves to sit on the couch and go through the whole list.
You have to stop him.
Yeah.
You can't allow this to happen. Sit down and watch Phineas and Ferb and shut up.
That's right. Hide the remote. I hid the remote long, long ago. Nobody has any access to the remote.
Hid or lost, Gina?
Hid.
Let's be honest. Really?
No. Well, first I lost it, but then I kept it hidden.
You found it and you left it there.
Yes, there was only so much Dora I could take.
Dora the Explorer.
Dora the...
Just be glad you don't have Barney. My kids grew up with Barney.
Yeah, we had Barney.
Is Barney still alive?
Those, by the way, both available on BitTorrent.
You can get Barney on BitTorrent?
Really?
That's
it's in the deeper stack.
That's just
I think there's somebody in Bolivia that has it.
I love you. You love me. Are you, Jenny, I know you are. Denise, I know you are. Hooked on Google Plus, aren't we?
Yeah, I like it. I cut the cord with Facebook, I don't know, I guess it was about a year ago. And it's interesting to see another very, very large country, excuse me, very, very large company with
It is a country, you're right.
with a very large user base come into something like this as right as they've gotten it from day one. Not all of it is right, but it is a heck of a lot more right than Facebook, in my opinion.
Now, you're honoring Google's request not to put brands in, or no, you've added Boing Boing.
Yeah, just for kicks. We're also talking with the people at Google Plus who will be rolling out the proper way for brands to come online. And, you know, whatever they tell us to do, we'll do to get Boing Boing in there appropriately. Yeah, but for right now...
It's kind of hard not to.
Laughing Squid is doing it. We have to.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, Laughing Squid, but even Ford, a lot of people are doing this, and it's hard not to. I've held back. I applied for the brand program or whatever they're going to do it.
Did
for
ya?
TWiT. I held back. Is Byte on Google Plus, Gina?
Not yet.
You held back.
Not yet.
You held back.
We held back so far, but you know we've been just a little busy.
It's hard. I have to say, as a
launch a
brand, it's
magazine.
probably very difficult to not put your stuff in there. And
Yeah,
especially when you see
we wanna be
Mashable suddenly leap into like the number 4 position of followers, as they always seem to do. I don't know how they do it every time.
Yeah, Google Plus is interesting because it allows yourself to kind of do a do-over. So if you're like me, I was just telling one of your guys at TNT
You did a do-over?
this week, you do a do-over because if you're like me and you're a social slut and you just say okay to everybody who has ever invited you, you end up with thousands of friends on Facebook. I don't know who these people are that I'm connected with. Now I can maybe try again with Google Plus, or maybe try to not do this ever again.
So you're not going to make the same mistakes on Google Plus that you made on
No,
Facebook.
I'm going to be a little more selective this
Not going to be
time.
a social slut, huh?
You know, it's all about the animated cat gifs. I got to just tell it like it is here.
It's all about the what?
Animated cat gifs.
Yeah, you seem to post a lot of those.
Like I'm the only one.
I've been meaning to say something, Jenny.
We're still in the middle of Cattergeddon, as you said yesterday.
Cattergeddon.
Well, there's one in here. Oh dear. There's
you know what?
This is the one I couldn't stop staring at. I really wonder if Google knew when they said, you know, what animated GIFs. They must have had a meeting, right? And everybody's there. Vic Gundutra's there. Bradley Horowitz. Probably Larry and Sergey are there.
Yeah.
Marissa Meyer's there. And they're sitting around and they're going, animated GIFs. What do we do?
Animated GIFs are already having kind of a comeback. Like there's serious intellectual discussions happening on blogs about animated GIFs as an art form, the fact that they restrict and that they offer certain agreed upon parameters and limitations like that, creative limitations like that are always interesting for artists. And I think that they're an interesting colloquial art form. And Anil Dash did a really interesting essay about this a few weeks ago, actually. And our own Dean Putney from Boing Boing has, just last
night. Are you asserting that this cat on the treadmill is an art form?
Animated GIFs.
You know, people insulted Picasso and said my kid could do this, and you can feel free to insult the obese Maine Coon cat on an underwater treadmill, Leo Laporte, but art historians 5, 10, 15
You know what?
years.
I think Tumblr was the one that opened the door on this. Of course, animated GIFs practically killed MySpace.
Yes.
Because they were everywhere and it was bling bling and all that stuff. But
Tumblr. Those were dumb little icons, just like junky, blinky icons. This is different.
It says something for Google Plus that it can bring in both Tom Anderson and animated GIFs and thrive in that environment.
It's
And
amazing.
don't forget Zook, all 5 of him.
Yes.
But now we know that there is one actual, one and only truly, right? Or no? We don't know.
We don't know that. We don't know that.
Scoble asserts, and I saw the text a couple of weeks ago, that one that's on the top of the charts, the one with 120,000 followers, that's actually
Yeah.
that's actually him. By the way, my favorite animated GIF site is still a Tumblr blog. It's called Animals Being Dicks. Have you seen that?
Leo.
No. Have you seen this?
No.
Indeed, I have. It's a brilliant Tumblr. It's a Tumblog of greatness.
It is the most wonderful Tumblog you've ever seen of animals just being jerky.
Corgi. A mean corgi. I didn't even know that was possible.
I don't know where they get all these, but they are just and they're animated GIFs. So because they're animated GIFs, they start playing immediately. They loop, and you just have to watch it over and over and over again, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I don't.
Oh, dear.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Leo.
Some of
Very
this
nice.
not safe for work.
Just
Well,
gonna say,
if animal.
not
Aw.
children's show here.
Well, I don't.
You know, I wonder about the Google Plus
I love this.
phenomenon, and if this whole audience is not a bunch of self-selecting technophiles. We're all saying, "Oh, wow, a new shiny thing. Let's go look at Google Plus." And you know, over the long term, can Google really sustain this? Will
sorry.
all the people on Facebook really move
Gina,
over?
I'm not paying any attention. I'm sorry. I'm watching.
I'm sorry. I was trying not to look at the screen.
I'm watching animals being dicks.
Stop, like,
I'm so
please
sorry.
don't. That's okay. I think that's.
This is my favorite one: the giraffe and the elephant. The elephant
That's
just.
an ostrich. by the way.
Ostrich, whatever it's called.
The
What is
giraffe.
that? This is an elephant that just gets tired of being pecked at by the ostrich and finally just takes things in his own hands.
There's a good metaphor in that somewhere.
It really is.
I had dinner with Ice-T's manager this week, and Ice-T's manager told me a story about how Ice-T and Public Enemy were all on their tour bus at some small town in Australia. And after they'd finished their show, there's this one guy, like this Australian guy, sitting on the corner, heckling Ice-T. Like, Ice-T is a really serious guy, right? So this guy is sitting on the corner, heckling him, threatening him. Goes on for like 20 minutes, and everybody on the bus is just kind of looking at Ice-T, wondering if he's going to do anything. He's just kind of sitting there like that. And then right around the 20-minute mark, he just quietly gets off the bus, walks up to the dude, clocks him in the face, breaks his jaw, and then walks back on the tour bus and sits right back down and does absolutely nothing. Everybody was like, yeah, that's Ice-T. And that elephant is like Ice-T.
Yeah.
By the way, I know that story because you shared it on Google Plus.
I did.
And I'm loving Google Plus because of the quality of content like that, where Xeni could write I don't know, that was 300 or 400 word post.
It was like 5 tweets.
It was great.
5 tweets.
It was so much better than Twitter, and the engagement is so much better. And you can't do this on Twitter. I mean, I have to say that Jenny's posts on that's a reshare, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a reshare.
You know, I used the animated GIF thing just, honestly, it is an interesting experiment to see how, it's like looking at an organism and seeing how the blood flows. And animated GIFs are something it's sticky, it's very shareable, people get really worked up about it, and you can see how interesting content flows. Like, you can't do it with porn, right?
Right. But you know, we might look back at Google Plus and say, you know the thing they did right? Animated GIFs.
Exactly.
Yes.
But like
Yeah.
when we're talking about will this work, will this last, will it have sustaining power, it's way, way, way too early to know. With Twitter, I remember in the first 6 months of being on board, and I was, I don't know, first 500, first 800 users on Twitter, I thought it was totally worthless, totally annoying, and I let my account go dormant for another 6 months. Then I came back and saw that this had evolved into something really interesting. So
I was
even if-
exactly the
yeah.
same. Exactly
Me
the
too.
same. And this is exactly the opposite. So
Yeah.
you're saying that we just don't know, that Twitter we didn't know because it wasn't
just don't-
obvious? We just
We
don't
just
know.
don't know. Part of what makes a network great is the architecture. Part of what makes a network great is the size of the user base. Part of what makes a network great is the ease with which the sort of social connections can evolve and mutate over time. And I think they've got enough of all of those three things going for them. Lord knows they got the user base.
Yeah. I would add a fourth at this beginning part, and that is the fact that there's so little, or if any, content being pushed in there that's coming from somewhere else that's not native to Google+.
I love it. That's what Friendfeed did wrong. It's what Pounce did wrong. It is all native content.
Yeah, so it's not
It's
leftovers,
actually made me
not just junk.
rethink. You know, Mike Elgin's got his social media Google Plus diet that he's on, where he's just switched exclusively to that medium, and I could see doing that. But what it's done for me is made me rethink how I use Twitter and Facebook, which are basically the only other things I use. And right before the show today, I clicked that setting in Facebook that takes my Twitter stream out of it. People, you know, have asked me to do it before, and I just thought, you know, it's too time-consuming to post multiple places and more efficient to do it this way, but it's just awful. I have stopped.
Maybe the right way to do this, I don't know about Facebook, the right way to do this is to have Twitter be this kind of automated stream. It's a dial tone. It's a nervous system of stuff that can be aggregated, collated, searched, put into Flipboard, and then have the real true engagement happen on Google+. Facebook, well, that's where you kind of, you know, hang out with your family, because I can't get my family to use Google+.
You should call Vic. Call Vic and give him that idea, Leah. That's a good idea.
We actually, when Google+ launched, we had Vic and Bradley on This Week in Google.
Really?
We talked a lot. They've been very open. And that's another thing I think Google's done right, is they've really participated with the community over Google+. And now there are at least 10 million. We know there's 10 million because Larry Page in the earnings call this week said, yes, we've got 10 million people in Google+. We have 1 billion shares a day in Google+.
Wow.
Actually,
that's amazing.
And he posted, by the way, notes from his earning call in his Google+ stream.
Crazy.
So
it is crazy.
They're eating their own dog food, as they say.
Well, it's called dog fooding, right?
Dog
and
fooding,
is it Facebook that has prohibited Google+ use, or Google that has prohibited Facebook?
Well, Facebook's done a few antagonistic things. They kicked a guy out for advertising on Facebook.
That's right.
That he come watch me on Google+. They banned that ad. They've also turned off. I've been told. The porting of Facebook, the only way you could get your Facebook stuff into Google+ was to go to Yahoo first with your Facebook contacts, and then from Yahoo into Google+. And apparently they've turned that off as well. I can't verify that, but I've been told that they've turned that off as well. So
it's very interesting. What I heard is that over at Google, all these employees for Google+ are heavily incented with bonuses to make sure that Google+ works.
Not just Google+. The bonus structure at Google this year is tied to Google's success in social for every single person at Google. So it's pretty clear that this is a high-profile, high-importance.
Yeah, Google has failed in terms of social networks in the past, over and over. So this is, what, their fourth or fifth attempt really coming forth. And I think so far, so good. It's looking really good.
This ain't no buzz.
Say no what?
Yeah, this is no buzz. This isn't Google Buzz. It's you know, certainly much better, and looks like it has a lot more staying power than Google Buzz so far.
To your point, Xeni, I loved Google Buzz, so I didn't, I immediately grokked that and said, "Oh, that was great," and that died. So.
Have any of you guys spent some time on doing Hangouts? I really like the video.
It's pretty cool.
I like people at once. It works better than Skype.
Yeah. And we could actually do that at work. We could all open a Hangout and just sit around so we don't have to talk to each other at work.
So my question is, for Google+, does it have to be necessary for some percentage of Facebook people to just dump Facebook and switch over?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Because I don't think it's going to happen either.
I think Twitter continues, Facebook continues. It's just one more.
So you've got LinkedIn for your professional network. You've got Twitter. You've got Facebook. And then now you've got...
That's an awful lot, isn't it? That's an awful lot.
It's an awful lot. I mean, is there really room at the table for a fourth? I mean, right now it's all exciting, but I'd like to see it in 6 months and see, what really happens with the bulk of users, or is it just a self-selecting small group all checking it out, excited about the animated GIFs, et cetera? Right. And, in 6 months, let's see, Vic.
We also might assume that Google has a few other tricks up their sleeve, right? I mean, there may be more to come.
That's
more
right.
Hangout style stuff. For instance, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Leah.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think over the next 6 months, I could see my professional network on Google Plus doing much more, and maybe that's because of the industry I pay attention to. So I might be more scared if I were LinkedIn, which I've never really used or found a use for at all.
It's like basically a resume posting service.
Right.
Exactly.
I don't get it.
Right.
With more of, the family and people who are not in the technology world, old friends staying on Facebook, but gradually I think moving over to Google Plus too, and using it in parallel because of the way that Google Plus brings people in once you add them to a circle, and also because of the buzz it's getting.
You know what I like most about Google Plus so far? No stupid games.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll
No
do
Farmville
games. Do you
yet.
think they'll put games
There's-
on there? I don't think they're going to do games.
They might, but just the fact that it works and that I don't have to go through so many layers of crap
Yeah.
to get to
I
what I
agree
want.
with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They had games in Wave. They had little plug-ins you could play chess and stuff in Wave. So maybe they'll do something like that. I don't want to see that. I think conversation. Keep it about conversation and animated cat gifs.
Yeah.
Google, by the way, did have a very, very good quarter. $9 billion in revenue for the quarter, up 32% year over year. They're obviously doing quite well. Thank you very much.
Did you see Stephen Levy's book? Did any of you guys
Yeah, in
read
the
Stephen
Plex.
Levy's book?
Yeah. What'd you think?
I love the book. I thought, well, I like all of Stephen Levy's work. He's such a great reporter and what a good writer. But you really get a feel for what it's like to be part of that juggernaut.
Well,
that is Google.
and there's the new Google book by...
Oh, gosh. William James had a word for this, the tip of the tongue syndrome.
Yeah, it's called Getting Old.
Being old.
No, it's called
We could listen to the White Album. That might help.
Really?
The White Album, number 9.
I'm
Number
looking at the
9.
chat room because
Number 9.
I really consider the chat room my externalization of my brain. I've poured them. My gray cells have been poured into the chat room.
Do they know? Ask them.
I'm looking.
I'm sure
they're
all
not
the
saying.
white people
They're not
ask
knowing what I'm talking about. It's a guy who left Google. He was. I'm Feeling Lucky is the name of the book,
Yes.
and it's about the early
You could
days.
Google
of
that.
Well,
Paul
yeah,
Adams. Thank you very much.
There you go, Paul Adams.
And apparently also a very interesting book. We're trying to get him on one of our shows. We'd love to get him to talk. Hey, well, we're going to take a break, come back with more. Love this panel. Love this panel. Denise Howell is here from our show This Week in Law. You do that show every Friday. What time? 11 a.m.?
11 a.m. I know it's your day off, so
Well, I watch.
we run the studio without you there.
You are in charge, and you're going to have a nice new studio to use next week.
Yes.
11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern at live.twit.tv. You can also download it after the fact at twit.tv/twill. And always really good conversation about the legalities, the stuff that's going on. That's
Right.
And really, law is about 90% of a lot of what's going on.
Well, sure. You use this stuff, and it's all pushing the edges of what's
Right.
legal or contemplated under the law in various ways. And so we always have fun stuff to talk about.
Always a lawsuit or two to mention.
Oh, there's like 6 this week,
I know.
right? Google's
I know.
being hit from all directions this week by
Nonstop.
lawsuits.
At what point are we going to talk about the slow-speed car chases and Casey Anthony getting out of jail?
You want to do that? Really? Really? You want to do that? I was funny. I was reading, and probably was on Google Plus because I think it's where I get all my news about how she left jail at 12:30 in the morning, and the reporters follow the car via helicopter. They're following the car to a parking lot at her attorney's, and then they can't figure out where she went. But a private jet left from the executive airport, and so the helicopters are swarming there. Maybe that's it. It went to Colorado where her parents live. No, it's a bunch of golfers. It was like, really? This is the most important thing in the world?
Hey, Leo, guess what?
What?
You just got trolled.
You sucked me in, Jenny. You keep pulling me in. No, I would like to talk about the other big scandal that's on the other side of the pond, the Rupert Murdoch scandal, big address.
Gamble.
Yeah. How they got rid of that newspaper after a zillion years.
Rebecca, what's her name? Rebecca Brooks got arrested today. I don't know if she'll be able to testify in Parliament on Tuesday. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Before we do, though, I want to talk about the secret behind exceptional websites. Our good friends at Squarespace.com. Hosting plus software, giving you the best possible experience. If you're ready to set up your own boing boing, your own animated GIF forum, this is a great place to go. It's not, there are other choices like Tumblr and WordPress and TypePad, but there is no better hosting out there. And no better content management system than Squarespace. So if you really want to do the best, and let me tell you, the best use Squarespace. Look at the example sites. You'll see so many well-known names, businesses, restaurants, nonprofits, photographers too. Because Squarespace gives you great-looking sites that are unique, that don't look like anybody else's site. They do that because you start with 60-plus designer templates that you can completely customize with drag and drop, point and click. You don't have to be a CSS or a JavaScript wizard to create a great-looking Squarespace site. And it's easy. Your first site, just go to the squarespace.com and click this big green Try It Free button. They won't ask you for a credit card, just the name of your site, a password, and an email address so they can get a hold of you. And that's it. And you're up and running. You can use all the features. Their great iPhone and iPad app that let you not only post but moderate comments and also see their great stats, amazing stats. So you know exactly who's visiting your site. Photo galleries, social media integration, all with point and click, drag and drop. But if you are a CSS wizard, you can also do anything. The sky's the limit. Now, Squarespace is very affordable. You're getting hosting and you're getting the software already updated, always secure, for as little as $10 a month, depending on how long you sign up for. But I'm going to add a little something for you. If you use the offer code TWiT7 when you buy, we'll take another 10% off for the first 6 months of your site. So it really is an affordable deal. I want you to give Squarespace a try. It's the secret behind exceptional websites. These guys are so great. They've done such a great job of making a platform that's easy to use. I just got my ham license, and I've already signed up. W6TWT.org will be on squarespace.com as soon as I get those call signs. I better get those call signs.
Love that picture of you with all the hams.
Yeah, wasn't that funny?
Yes.
Oh, my God, they're so cute. I showed that to my wife. She said, oh, these are the cute boys you're hanging out with now, huh?
You're hanging out with dorky ham radio people.
You know, don't knock it. The hams are saving the world.
Okay.
It's you know, I've always been in radio, but I never did amateur radio, and you know, we do a ham show called Ham Nation, and they kind of convinced me that I really should get my ham license. Here's the picture of Leo.
There it is.
And the examiners.
Okay, they're not dorks.
Right.
They're
Oh,
really
come
cool.
on. Oh, come on. But you know what's interesting? I fit right in.
Ham was the original social network.
It is. It still is.
It really was.
You know what
That's
surprised
true.
me is I thought, oh, this is probably a hobby that's kind of dying out because, after all, we have the internet and cell phones now. We don't really need to carry a 5-watt radio in our back pocket. But there were 10 or 15 people taking the test. Ham is still growing. There are a lot of amateurs, and many of them are in our audience, which I didn't know. So I'm looking forward to it. The new studio will have, I'm really excited, a radio corner. So we're going to, have a great ham setup so people can come from out of town and broadcast. Because I guess you can do that. If I have a license, you can use my gear and broadcast on it. And we're going to set up really nice. Bob Hyland, Gordon West are going to set up. Beautiful setup there. But then next to it, we're going to have a 1940s Collins AM radio transmitter. Glowing. We're going to have an old 50s console with the big knobs. We're going to have turntables, cart machines. It's going to be a little old radio station set up in there.
That's cool.
A museum of analog technology. And maybe you'll see some of these guys.
And bring some of those guys.
Is the guy on the upper left Wilford Brimley?
It does look like Wilford Brimley, doesn't he?
So
That's
do they
George.
still do postcards, Leo? When you call
yeah.
out to Pitcairn Island, do you get your postcard back?
QSL cards, they call them.
Yay!
We're gonna make a QSL card for TWiT so that when people, DX us, when they talk to us remotely, we'll send them a little postcard like this one, a QSL card.
That's awesome.
It's easy to make fun of hams because they're nerds, right?
But we're nerds, baby.
Are you nerds or are you geeks?
Well, not only that, but what I'm getting at is like social networks. They own your content. With ham radio,
right?
There's none of that. It's like
right.
It sort of passes out there into the ether, but you own it. It really is a DIY social network, and it's something that predates a lot of us here.
Thank you for acknowledging that. It's absolutely true.
Yep.
And many of the technologies we use today were created by hams, including the packet radio that we use on our cell phones and
including
in emergencies,
the personal computer.
In emergencies, unfortunately, everything breaks down. All this technology that we rely on in emergency, just ask the folks in New Orleans, stops working. And
I was going to say, like, when goes down, Google Plus is not going to save your
It's
butt.
not going to save your
true.
bacon.
And
It's
even
really
like
true.
seriously, even Twitter relies on certain things being stable in terms of connectivity. When shit really hits the fan,
Right.
ham radio will save your butt, and you will thank these people that you are mocking as dorks now.
They do, and they're organized to make sure that happens. My neighbor across the street was in the local network that, is supposed to stay alive when everything
right.
else goes down.
That's right.
Police feed them information.
Yeah. It's really it's a very interesting subculture, and because let's be honest, we're in a subculture that has been mocked and ridiculed. We were the nerds in school. I don't know about you guys; you're all gorgeous, but I was the nerd in school, and I kind of have this. It's funny because I guess there's a pecking order, and so we digital nerds kind of look down on the analog nerds, but really, no, we're all the same, and it's really kind of fun to become part of this subculture. So I'm excited about it.
Good
Yeah,
for
I'm
you.
really excited for you, Leo. I mean, this was doing the Wozniak thing. This was the thing he was proudest of, was that he was a kid and he got his ham radio license.
A lot of people in technology got their start in ham radio. Absolutely.
They did.
Absolutely. And building Heath kits and all that stuff.
Heath kits. That's
It's the maker revolution, but 50, 30 years ago,
Pre-Androids.
If you're into crypto, you've got
Right.
Morse code to learn.
Right.
And
Well, and there's a lot of data, actually. I didn't know this, but I got a radio that does all sorts of data stuff. Anyway, I don't want to go on and on, but it is a very interesting group of people, and I'm very excited about it.
I thought it was interesting what Jenny said about, like if you need help, social networks aren't going to save you. The founder of Twitter is being interviewed by somebody from the New York Times, and God, I can't think of her name. She's the real liberal columnist that always used to take down Bush so hard. But anyway, she was interviewing him and said, tell me, why on God's earth would I ever use Twitter? If I was in trouble, how would this help me? And he said, well, you could type in help. 4 or 5 characters. Help.
Help.
Bang. Help.
people have done that.
It actually has happened. Remember, people have been arrested and tweeted as their last, as they've hauled off to the, the gulag.
Yeah, my point earlier was more to the fact that if the communication networks that we rely on for regular access to services such as Twitter, if they fail, like they would after a catastrophic earthquake or a tsunami or a big hurricane, that's where the hams really, really become valuable. When phone lines, cellular networks, and internet are gone, that is what is going to literally save your butt.
Absolutely. And frankly, it is a house of cards, let's face it. As robust as we try to make it, this is not, this is not that robust. Hey, let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's put Denise Howell to work a little bit here. Attorney, counselor, judge finds, this is a little scary, HTC guilty of infringing 2 Apple patents. Does this mean Android is in trouble? Are they going to get an injunction against HTC that keeps HTC from shipping phones to the U.S.?
Well, this is just one of the bigger pieces of how Android's in trouble, right? Because Android is just sort of a Swiss cheese of these patent and licensing issues. Because at bottom, it's this open source endeavor based on Linux, right? And so everybody, now that it's spreading, and what's our other story here today? 550,000 Android activations per day.
Yeah, spreading is right, like a wildfire spread.
Yeah.
So, everyone wants to and can try and get a piece of that pie. And so we see it coming at them from all fronts. We've got Oracle, we've got Microsoft, we've got Apple, and not just going after Google with Android, but this one, Apple versus HTC. And Nilay Patel, as he is wont to do, has yet another definitive post unpacking this International Trade Commission ruling and basically, throwing a bit of water on all the panicky coverage of it. It was an adverse decision against HTC, finding that 2 of the 10 patents asserted had been infringed. But this guy is just the first stopping point in the ITC's decision-making process. It then goes to the full 6-member panel. And so there's still a long ways to go in this. But I really encourage people to go and read Nilay's post if they're fascinated by the details of all this over at This Is My Next.
In his post, one of the things he notes that HTC does say there are alternative solutions in place for this problem, as if they have Plan B.
Right.
What would that be?
That's a really good question. I mean, I guess they're going to have functionality that doesn't rely on Android as in its current iteration, right? That they actually have somehow coded around this, which, you know, again, another piece of this being an open source operating system, I guess you can do to some extent.
This makes me so mad. I understand Apple needs to do this, but I just... I don't know. In my heart, it just makes me mad because it feels like Apple just do your best, let Android do its best, and let the best product win. On the other hand, Steve Jobs says, "Hey, we like competition, but if somebody is going to steal from us, we're going to go after them."
What are the patents exactly? I saw that there were two that were held up, right? One had to do with Denise. You've got to help me here. One had to do with your clicking a phone number or anything highlighted.
I'll read it to you.
Paragraph 2 of Eli's post.
It's a system. There are two patents. The first,
there's two of them.
Patent 5946647 describes a system of data detectors that can parse data, recognize known structures, and take action upon them. Patent 6,343,263 is a patent that describes a modular system that enables different types of data to be processed in real time. The point being, these aren't trash can, clicking an icon. These are fundamental underlying technologies
that everybody does.
That everybody uses.
Everybody uses both of these technologies. So what are the possible workarounds? You know,
Denise, does the ITC have to look at that? Do they have to take that into consideration, or are they just ruling on whether this is original or not?
I think that they're just looking at the patent and looking at the question of, is it infringed? I am not a patent lawyer, and you actually, on All About Android earlier this week, had Matt Macari on, who's been on TWiT a number of times. He writes the Litigating Apple blog and hasn't yet delved into this too deeply. But, you know, I encourage people to listen closely to what folks like Matt and Nilay are unpacking about all this. For the actual administrative details, but my understanding, just as a lawyer who practices in the IP area, is they're going to be more closely concerned with the actual infringement involved in this narrow case.
So they don't have to think about, though, what is the impact on the market? Is this going to throw everything in turmoil? They don't have to think about end users who will have to, you know, all buy iPhones now. That's not their purview.
Well, the cost gets passed along to the user, right? I mean, in the hands of all these law firms.
It all comes down to what's licensed and what's not, right? I mean, that's what all these
So ultimately, maybe this is resolved. Apple says, fine, you could sell your phone, just pay us.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know,
but could
Gina
Apple
hit that on the head. It's how much it's worth to them and how much they think they can, you know, push this without having to pay through the nose for the licensing involved. And again, because it's all this sort of strange, brought together from multiple sources, underlying technology, there's a lot of opportunity to debate what's original and what's not.
Right. Could Apple be rapacious, though, and say, no, we're not going to license it, and put them out of business?
I think they're unlikely to.
Would
isn't this what Denise would know? I mean, isn't this what it's all about? I mean,
it is what it's all about. It's, you know, how much can we push them? You know, how much is it in our interest to push them? Do they want HTC out of business for some reason? I suppose perhaps yes. I mean, they're a huge competitor.
Well, I think they'd like Android out of business.
Yeah.
Well, they'd probably rather have the licensing fees. I mean, how did Microsoft get so rich? It was licensing DOS all those years. I mean, it's all you have just a steady stream of income.
That's true.
From licensing. That's what lawyers do.
It hurts me because I love my Android phone so damn much.
Do you love it so
damn
much?
I'm actually physically in love with it. I do. No, I love it.
Don't do an animated GIF on it.
No, but I mean, I do. I love it. It's great. If you've made me go back to iPhone, I'd cry.
Yeah,
and it just makes me sad to see a company. Well, I mean, I guess this is what happens. Denise, you're a lawyer. It seems to me that I would just like them to make a better iPhone, and not worry so much about what Android's doing.
Right, but they do, you know, they have these patents not just for their own technology, but for their future. In a way, it's an investment, and it's the standard operating procedure in the tech industry.
Yeah.
For you know, boy, believe me, I understand. I just it just makes me, it saddens me.
Yes.
Yeah, you have
And it
to
frankly
defend
hurts
your patents.
It hurts open source software because what does the unintended consequence, maybe it is the intended consequence, is that people then start using proprietary solutions because at least they know, you know, it's not encumbered, that they know who to pay a license fee to. And it makes people scared about Linux and other open source software because, oh my God, who's going to sue me if I use this?
Yeah, but look at the LoadSys thing, right? That company that owns the patent on the in-app purchasing, and everybody I know who runs, say, you know, an iOS app company has gotten a cease and desist letter, and LoadSys has even sued the New York Times company now.
Apple, if they're smart, will indemnify these companies. I
well,
think
that's what Apple's saying they'll do, but they haven't. They haven't yet indemnified them. And Apple's too busy, you know, suing everybody else, suing HTC, and Microsoft, or rather Oracle, is suing Google over Java. And there's like 10,000 lawsuits this week. A lot for Denise to talk about on her show this week, I bet.
Bill in Michigan in our chat room, Denise asks, is it possible for, this must be a technical term, for a patent correction?
A patent correction. To amend a patent in some way.
Yeah, to say, well, this really shouldn't be an Apple patent. I guess the ITC doesn't do that.
Yeah, no, they don't.
They have to go with existing patent law.
Yes, they.
And I love Casus Belli in our chat room, Casus Belli, who is appropriately named. He says, Leo, don't hate the player, hate the game.
and only
That's the
in
name of your show.
Yeah, well, it's kind of
only
true.
in the TWiT chat room would you also get a comment. It's streamed by, I didn't see who said it, where they say, wonderful inside Linux joke. All you have to do is get a license from SCO and you're all set.
Yeah, SEO. Just ask SEO.
We know about SCO because that went on for so long. It was kind of it was like the background noise of every broadcast we did for years.
That's right. I think this is going to go on forever, too. Is this going to be resolved in our lifetimes? The Apple, the Google, the Oracle battles? No. But the cost will be passed along to the users.
It would be possible at this point for Apple to ask for an injunction against Android handset sales or HTC handset sales in the U.S. They could do that, could they not?
Yes, they can ask for it, and that it's sort of the big hammer that could come down. Exactly. That's the ITC does have that kind of power to ban sales. So that's why these things are
that's not
scary and worth following.
Right. That's not the next step, but it's a conceivable step in this process.
Yeah.
You don't get damages from the ITC. You get
injunctions.
You get market share.
You get market share.
Yeah.
Now, how much? I mean, is there then a backlash from the community saying, Apple, you suck? Maybe there is.
No, people love Apple too much. You can't say anything negative about Apple.
I can't.
They come hammer you.
I love.
You don't believe it?
You haven't been in our
Check out
comment
my.
threads recently.
Say again.
You haven't been in our comment threads recently, clearly.
It is a vicious battle between the Apple lovers and the Apple haters. It still rages.
Leo, do you remember we used to play taps anytime the word Apple was mentioned on our radio show?
That was when Gil Amelio was running the company, and I was right to do so.
You were right to do so. Remember, we had a button, a taps button.
Who knew Steve would come back? I didn't know that. If I'd known that, maybe I wouldn't have played taps. I want to talk to you a little bit about a great column in the Wall Street Journal by Ben Rooney, Women and Children First, Technology and Moral Panic. He's actually quoting Genevieve Bell, director of Intel's Interaction and Experience Research. Well, I want to talk about that in just a little bit. The moral panic that society always goes through when there's new technology. And who is it that suffers first? It's the women and children. But before we do that, I do want to talk a little bit about Audible.com, my favorite place for audio entertainment. I know you're listening to TWiT right now or watching it, but there are times when maybe you don't want this blather about technology. You'd like to listen to a great piece of literature or enjoy a sci-fi novel or perhaps get ahead on the Game of Thrones. Maybe you want to read Clash of Kings before next fall. That's where Audible comes in handy. There are, nowadays we're so busy. Who has time to read anymore? But there are plenty of times when you could read if you could just, listen. You couldn't hold a book, but you could in the car or at the gym, cleaning house, walking the dog. I listen to Audible books in all those times. In fact, sometimes I'll walk the dog 3 or 4 times a day just so I can catch up on my Audible reading. This is that book I was talking about, actually. I'm Feeling Lucky. It's not Paul Adams. It's Douglas Edwards. And The Confessions of Google Employee number 59. It's next on my reading list. There's some great Google books if you want to know more about Google at audible.com. And here's how you can get 2 of them for free. You go to audible.com/twit2. You'll sign up for the Platinum plan. That's the 2-book-a-month subscription. And the first month is free. Your first 2 books are free, and you can cancel at any time, owe nothing, but you get to keep those books forever. This is one of the things I really like about Audible, is every book you've ever listened to Audible is in your Audible library, and you can listen to it at any time. I use the Audible app on Android. There's one on iPhone that lets you literally browse through your library of books and listen to them. And see this new feature? I love this. Send wirelessly to Kindle. You can send audio books. I just sent Solaris to my Kindle. How about that? So you can read the book and listen to the book. Plays on the iPhone, iPod, iPad, Zune, pretty much all of the media players. Of course, your computer as well. Even on my Sonos, which is great. When nobody's home, I will make the Audible books resound throughout the house on my Sonos system. Audible.com/twit2. Pick 2 books. Gina's got a couple of books on here. Yeah, well, there I Was. Isn't your other book on here too?
I Was. This should be on there.
I know I Was is.
It should be on there. My new book, which is The Mountain Within. The Mountain Within. I'm not sure if that's on there, but I bet you it's about to be.
Is The Mountain Within out?
It's out. It came out this week, the same week Bite came out, and I didn't
Wait
even
a
have
minute.
time
You
to
didn't
tweet
tell
it.
me
I
that?
was so busy.
Your
I
book
didn't have
came
time.
out?
My book came out this week.
No Audible version. Gina, we got to work on that.
It'll be, I'm sure it is in the works.
But I Was is there, and it's great because they got a guy who sounds just like Wozniak reading it, which is hysterical.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
he sounds
funny.
exactly like it.
What's The
It's
Mountain
weird.
Within about?
I wrote the book with Herta von Stiegel. There's a word for you, Herta von Stiegel. And Herta von Stiegel was a former chairman of AIG Europe. And she has been taking people up Kilimanjaro, people who are physically challenged and are mentally challenged. And so my agent came to me and said, Herta von Stiegel has written this book. Can you write a bunch of leadership lessons attached to this?
Oh, how cool.
So, it's like plan your journey, deal with, criticism. Don't stay too long at the top is the final lesson in the book.
So it's a business book. That's awesome.
It's a business book, and it's an adventure book, and it's I wrote it for Herta. And
well,
I think if you look on
congratulations.
Amazon, I don't even think my name's on there for some reason. It's a typo. But
You're not a ghost, though.
I'm not a ghost. I don't
You're
ghost.
not a ghost. You're a real, honest-to-God writer, co-author.
Ghosts are writers too, but I mean, it's just for writers you need to eat.
They're
Ghosting
imaginary
is a bad
writers.
deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you can't say you wrote.
So
the
we'll
book.
give you 2 books. We'll give you Douglas Edwards, the I'm Feeling Lucky, and I Was. How about that? Both free. Although I have to say, if you start browsing around, it's gonna be pretty hard to limit it. Get those first 2 books. Start listening. A world of wonderful literature awaits you. Audible.com/twit2. Oh, Ann Patchett. I love her. She's got a new novel out.
She's great.
I loved her. What was the one where they're holding the people hostage?
And it's like the Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite novels ever.
Oh.
They've got all the people held hostage, and they're in like Venezuela or Peru or
Yeah,
something.
now I can't remember the name of the book.
My favorite book, I can't remember the name of it. I will look that up.
I'm going to do it. I got the Google.
What's the name of that book?
I'm sure it's on Audible, too. Bel Canto. Because an opera singer is in that, yeah.
That's right. There's an opera singer, and she gets in with one of the kidnappers and teaches him how to sing, and it's a beautiful book.
That should be on Audible. Let me just check, because that would be fun to listen to.
What a great book.
If I've read a book, it's because I listened to it on Audible. In the last 10 years, that's the only books so this is another one we could recommend.
Yeah, there it is.
Love this book.
University of Iowa after the .com crash for the summer taking a novel course, and they recommended that everybody read Bel Canto.
It's beautiful, yeah.
So
I loved this column, and I thought since we have 3 female panelists on here, it'd be great to ask you what you thought about it. I don't know if you read it in the Wall Street Journal, but it's the issue of the word of moral panic. Genevieve Bell says, we have had moral panic over new technologies pretty much as long as we've had technology. since Fire and the Wheel, and it's always, she said, played out in the bodies of children and women. She says, look at the pushback about electrifying homes in the U.S. She said, if you electrify homes, people said you'll make women and children vulnerable. Predators will be able to tell if they are home because the light will be on and you will see them. Railway.
Could you see them before with a lantern in the window? Or the smoke coming out of the chimney?
Railway trains. Women's bodies are not designed to go 50 miles an hour. Their uteruses will fly out of them.
That's the quote of that article, by the way.
Whoosh.
Whoosh.
I
There
just
it
think it's
goes.
fascinating.
There's an animated GIF for you.
Is this
Uterus is flying out of women and railroads.
is this
Oh.
I mean, I think for
I hate
sure,
it when that happens.
for sure, yeah, I hate it when that happens.
Me too. Like, if today will be a successful day if my uterus doesn't
No,
fly
I do
out.
remember though. We thought that man could not, or woman, or children could not go faster than say 30 miles an hour because it just your body would scramble, would turn to jelly or whatever. But I think this is happening right now. Don't we? Whenever we want to regulate the internet, we say it's for the children. Protect the children. It's child pornography we're trying to save. I don't know if women are blamed anymore.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
it
it's
does-
certainly. Go ahead.
It does seem to be the leading justification for turning things off or clamping things down that go more broadly, of course, than the immediate concern.
The first pushback, she says, is going to be about kids. Is it making our children vulnerable to predators, to other forms of danger? We will immediately then regulate access. I just thought this was very, very interesting. And we're still doing it.
I mean, there's no question that there's always a huge societal panic every time there's a new technology. I mean, you remember, who are all those people that were screaming about the internet when it first started? This is the show of not being able to remember people's names. And that guy started an entire movement against the internet in the late 90s.
Yeah.
What was his name?
I don't remember, but I dimly remember.
Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
We had him on the show once, Leah.
We did?
And he was saying, yeah, we did. We had him on the show.
Why did we dignify him?
Because it was like the hot thing to talk about. He was saying, "Oh, if the internet comes out, people will stop reading." You know,
Not Andrew
it
Keene.
Happened because
Not
now
Andrew
you all
Keene.
listen.
I was going to say that sounds suspiciously like Andrew Keene
Who
and
I
any
think-
other number of
I think
anti.
Andrew has backpedaled quite a bit on his. He was the guy who said wrote the Cult of the Amateur, which he said he's so British. All these amateurs, they're just flooding the world with bad crotch videos.
That's why we had a war with you guys.
That's why we
We're
were
a nation of amateurs.
All of those cat
Maximum
gifs,
grade.
I can't take it anymore.
But there was a book that came out a couple of years ago that was about the telegraph, and the whole book was about how people were freaking out because
The Victorian
suddenly there
internet.
was
Yeah.
the Victorian internet. You remember the name of the book?
Yeah.
Finally, somebody remembers something on this show.
So Hotmail has Microsoft has responded to apparently there's a rash of people hacking Hotmail accounts. So Microsoft's response, they now have a button on an email that says, "My friend has been hacked." This is the fix. You get an email from your friend that's obviously from a bad guy pretending to be your friend. You now have a button you can push that literally says, "My friend has been hacked."
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
What genius came up with that?
It sounds a bit like my friend is a communist.
Right.
You know, or we
Turn him
have
in.
congressional hearings about
Turn him in. My friend he's a red.
That's very funny.
My
My friend has been hacked. That's the best they can come up with because all their employees have left to go to Google
They can't fix it, so we're just gonna.
or Apple.
Yes.
Yes, they can't fix it.
I think we're
My friend
scraping.
has been-
We're scraping the bottom of the barrel of the stories here, so just apologies.
Well, you didn't talk about the new tablet from Amazon.
Okay, let's talk about that's a good story.
Now, I thought it was.
It's a rumor. We don't know for sure, but Amazon reportedly making a 9-inch tablet running Android color.
It's an Android color tablet. It's not much of a rumor. I believe that there's
has
the
anybody at
Chinese
Amazon-
manufacturer came forth and said, yes, we're designing it.
But nobody at Amazon has admitted this.
Yeah, well,
I
I mean,
don't-
they didn't deny it. And as all reporters know, when you don't deny it, that's
It
a
must be
yes.
true, huh?
Must be true then.
So what do we
The
think?
new
Is Amazon
Amazon-
going to be a big player in the tablet market? Is this going to? I mean, tablets are not selling. The only tablet that sells right now is an iPad. Everything else is a distant second. Can
Yeah,
Amazon
that's-
turn that around?
Maybe it's like the Kindle 3 or the Kindle 4 or 5. They just add a whole bunch of functionality and leverage the market they've built there.
But one
Yeah.
of the things that makes the Kindle so good is that it's not color, that it's e-ink, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you make it a color tablet, then it's just another bad iPad clone, or no?
I agree. I mean, I think it's really hard for these tablet wars to get going because the tablets that have come out have been so bad. You've got that Playbook, which has one redeeming feature. It's camera and it's video camera.
Oh,
and it's,
the Playbook
it's really
is
good.
terrible. Terrible.
But otherwise, it's awful.
Terrible. I
Right?
bought
The
one.
HP touchpad.
I actually
came out,
paid $500 for that piece of junk.
and it does. And the bridge just came out, right? The ability to
Oh, it finally
actually
came
email.
out? So I can get
It came
email
out
on it
this
now?
week. Yeah, now you can have email after you paid $500 for it. The HP touchpad is out now, and we've got a tester, Brian Burgess in Minnesota, who is my executive editor. He says, I want to like it.
I want to like it too. I do
but
too.
I hate it.
Yeah, apparently the
Yeah.
underpowered and
Yeah, underpowered, thick, heavy, big, fat. I mean, they all have a better camera than the iPad, but they're not going anywhere. Any of
How
these
about
tablets.
this? How about this? Here's a story.
Sony's got a new tablet too.
I mean,
What's your-
I can't get excited about it. I think it's the iPad through the end of the year. Then maybe.
Maybe.
There's no apps. How about this?
Yeah,
A woman
without that,
publishes a
useless.
book filled with. This is what
I
you
saw
should have.
this.
This is what you should have done, Gina.
I was thinking, why didn't I do
Why
this?
write a book when you could just take 12 years of personal text messages? It's called Text Me Up. Tracy Moberly has taken 10 years of her texts and she's made it a novel? I don't know.
All right. Well, there was
I'm
a
telling
book.
you, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel. I got nothing.
So she's
but-
publishing other people's texts as her book?
No, it's her.
No, her own.
Her own texts.
No,
So-
you're right, Denise. Texts
That's-
she's received.
Uh-huh.
When
We
she
love
got-
to talk on Twill about, what you have to have a copyrightable work and whether tweets are copyrightable. I think that you could make a good argument here. I'm sure she probably changed names, but
But she doesn't
she's
own
got
those.
content here she didn't write.
Incoming texts, you don't own them. Nope.
Right.
They were-
the
they
question is
landed on
whether
her.
anybody could assert copyright in them.
By sending them to her, I didn't give her a license to publish them.
I don't think you gave her a license to write a book.
No, I think you're right. That's a good point. Very interesting.
No, you remember Julia Cameron? Julia Cameron wrote a book years ago. It was all about unleashing your inner creative being, and the idea was that every morning you would write these morning pages. You wake up in the morning and then you just kind of write stream of consciousness. And then there were all these books that came out of people publishing their morning pages, and then of course there was that guy that came out with all those tweets, and then they based a TV show around it with William Shatner.
Oh yeah, tweets my dad pooped
Yes.
out or something like that.
Yes, and now this. So
It's just a matter of time.
Next,
Twitter-
it's Google Groups.
Twitter
Just
is,
publish
by
all
the
your
way,
Google Groups.
officially 5 years old.
Amazing.
July,
Who knew they'd
July
last this long?
15th, 2006. Do we care?
Happy birthday, Twitter. Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday.
Corey.
Corey?
Happy birthday,
Jenny?
Corey. Yet it was just a couple of days ago.
Happy birthday, Corey. Is he the same age as Twitter?
I don't think he's 5.
Sometimes he seems that way. He's very
In internet years, he's the same age as Twitter.
Yeah.
We're talking about Corey, the
He's
great
definitely
Corey
been around a
Doctorow.
little longer than Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corey is, of course, Xeni's co-collaborator,
didn't know that.
co-conspirator on boingboing.net.
I didn't know that. I'm a big fan.
Oh, we love Corey.
Big fan of Cory Doctorow.
The only reason Corey is not a regular on Twitter is because he has to put Posey to bed at this time. We try to get him all the time. He says, no, I'm sorry, I got to put Posey to bed. I love it.
How old is Posey?
I don't know.
What
How
a
old is
cute
she
name.
now? She's about the same age as Twitter, actually.
She
No.
is. She's just about, I think, 4 years old,
4 or
5
5,
years
I
old.
was
Yeah.
going to say a little younger.
Best
But they're
name.
nice.
She has
They're
the
based in
best
the UK.
name in the world.
That is the best name.
Oh,
I
it's
think
not, but it's only part of it.
That's the best name.
Her whole
It's
name
a
is
long
even.
name.
Yeah. I wonder if I can find it. Let me see if I can find the whole.
He announced it when she was first born. It was
Posey, Emmeline, Fibonacci, Nautilus, Taylor, Doctorow.
Lord.
Everybody should have Fibonacci as a
They
middle name.
should, shouldn't they?
Fibonacci.
Posey, Emmeline, Fibonacci, Nautilus, Taylor, Dr. O. But Posey's such a nice name.
I like Nautilus being part of it. Nautilus.
Folks, we are. This is the last show for TWiT, for the TWiT show from the Cottage. At this time next week, we'll be broadcasting live from the Brick House down the street, the brand new TWiT Brick House Studios. I'm very excited about that. There is still time to get a brick on the wall of honor. We are selling bricks to help raise money for this incredibly expensive product. You can get an 8x4, you can get an 8x8, you can get your logo, whatever you want. Go to bricks.twit.tv. There, I plugged it. It helps us a lot. And actually, I got to tell you, when you come in the door and right there in the entry lobby, all of these bricks with all of these amazing, thoughts, wishes in memory of. It's just really inspiring and really exciting. It really gives you a sense of the TWiT community. So if you are part of the TWiT community and you want to participate and help us build our brand new facility, bricks.twit.tv. Everybody should read Boing Boing religiously because it is the best. And should follow Xeni Jardin on Google+.
I'm still on Twitter, too.
On Twitter, why not? One of the things I like about Google+, though, is you just use your real name, so it's easy to find people.
Yeah.
I don't have to say @Xeni or anything like that. You just Xeni Jardin. She's on Google+.
It's easy.
Look for the animated cat gifs. You can't miss it.
Oh, God.
You can't miss it. Xeni, thank you so much for watching,
Been a pleasure.
participating.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I've also been watching.
Watching and listening. We appreciate it. Gina
pleasure.
Smith, congratulations. The launch of a book and a magazine all in 1 week. I don't know how you do it.
Yes, and we announced the Bytecast. And we announced both Byte and the Bytecast. And if you go to the page called Byte is Back, I believe it's called, or Welcome Back Byte, there's a big video of you, Leo.
Oh.
Welcoming back Byte. You're on Byte.
I think I recorded
right
that. I must have.
You did when
good.
we were there at the Cottage.
All right.
I didn't just steal it or anything.
And look for
Maybe
the
you
book on
texted it to
Amazon.
her.
What is the name of the book again?
The book is called The Mountain Within, and the magazine, which is BYTE, Byte, it's back.
I think nobody has ever come on TWiT with more stuff to plug in the history of this show. 310 episodes than you today, Gina. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Leo. And I can't wait till we start our Bytecast.
Bytecast coming soon to the TWiT Brick House. Thank you to Denise Howell, our host of This Week in Law. You hear it every Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern at live.twit.tv. Bagandbaggage.com, our great law blog. Great to have you.
Thank you.
all.
I'm off to pour myself a glass of Napa Chardonnay in honor of the farewell to the TWiT Cottage.
I know, it's kind of, I mean, we're going to be here for another week, but this is the last show, This Week in Tech show from here.
Sad.
Yeah.
Yes, it
So
is.
thank
And
you all
I'm
for
looking.
being
I'm really looking forward to seeing my brick on the wall. That's going to be fun.
Let me tell you, this new place is so beautiful. You're just going to love it. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. I'm going to leave you with Tom Merritt and a look at the week ahead on our TNT show every Monday through Friday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And of course, TNT is also downloadable at twit.tv/TNT. I will see you next week from the new TWiT Brick House. This is the last time I will say it in the Cottage. Another TWiT is in the can.
Hey, thanks, Leo. Here's a look at the week ahead. Some of the stories we'll be covering on Tech News today. Starting today, AT&T users of the iPhone can get standard insurance instead of the special iPhone insurance. Also, the iRiver Story HD launches, the first e-reader with Google integration. Monday, July 18th, PC game streaming service Happy Cloud officially launches. Tuesday, July 19th, Apple starts their earnings call at 2 p.m. Pacific. It's expected to be good. Thursday, July 21st, the Space Shuttle Atlantis is scheduled to land at 5:56 a.m., completing the final voyage of the Space Shuttle. Also on Thursday, Microsoft has their earnings call, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. Verizon has their next big LTE push, expanding into 100 cities. And Comic-Con begins in San Diego, running all weekend long. Sarah Lane and I will be there broadcasting live. And Saturday, the anniversary of the release of the Commodore Amiga, celebrated at the Commodore Vegas Expo, July 23rd and 24th in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's a look at the week ahead. Back to you, Leo.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time on This Week in Tech. Bye-bye.